Thank you, Judith. I especially asked Judith to remind me of this quote because whenever we talk about accessing the divine, it sounds so impossible. Where is that? Somewhere else. We immediately, at least I think, somewhere else. And how can I get it? And it's just so far away. And this quote from the Torah tells us, no, it is as close to us as breathing, and we can do it. And so that's kind of the theme of this hour, that we explore how we can access the divine just in our everyday life, in the normal reality. And so I think Judith is going to give us her definition of divine.
Well, I think we said we would each speak briefly about, like, what do we mean that by divine presence? Like, I'll talk about what do we mean in Judaism about by divine presence, okay? So I think of several concepts. One is in Judaism, the concept of the Shekhinah, right? Which is like a feminine aspect of divinity that loves you. There's an aspect that deeply loves you and loves all of the creation and loves everybody. And so when you're acting kind to yourself and being your true self and so on, you're accessing that, you're letting the Shekhinah be happy, okay? And that when we're being schmoes and hurting people, the Shekhinah gets a little bit exiled from us, but the Shekhinah is a divine presence. We also have the concept of transcendent God that created galaxies, billions of galaxies, and we want to unite that transcendence with the immanent, the indwelling presence of God, the Shekhinah. We try to unite those in ourselves. I also think of that wonderful concept, right, that Michael Robinson taught, right, where he said that we have this holy name for God, so holy we never say it aloud, but we have the letters of it, and it's basically a combination of several forms of the verb to be. And Michael says, so the holy name of God means the unfolding of reality itself, right? So basically God is reality itself, and then it's up to us to be in touch with reality or not in touch with reality, in touch with God and not in touch with God. So tell me about Buddhism with that.
Well, I'm not going to tell you about Buddhism. I'm going to tell you some more about Judaism because
Okay.
I love this Shekhinah principle, or this idea, in which I'm just learning this year from the counting the Omer and how we started up here and we went down. And I realized that God, divine presence, doesn't come from above down, but actually from the ground up. And that was a discovery I made this year through the Shoshana's guidance in counting the Omer and the meditations she offered us, that actually it's the groundedness in the earth that we bring up into our heart and into our minds, and that brings us to understand our connection to the divine. So I just wanted to share that.
Well, it reminds me of something I forgot to say about the Jewish.
By the way, people, this is what we do. This is conversations between us.
That Judaism says that we have a divine essence that's in us. It's in everybody. Mm-hmm. It's in everybody. And we don't have to be in touch with it. You know, like we may just focus on work and getting ahead and money and fame and stuff like that. But it's there. And anytime we turn our attention toward it, there's this divinity inside us as well as inside of everything. So we were going to talk about each of us, like how we have had a sense of divine presence.
Yes.
You start.
Okay. So when I think about this, and I've been thinking about this because of our topic, and when have I experienced the divine, and what does that feel like? And I realized that in my life, many, many times, I've experienced it, but I didn't really recognize it. I didn't know, that's the divine. But when I began to meditate and the instruction was given to when you notice your thoughts, just label them thinking and come back. That was the first time that I had a clue, an inkling that I might be not just my thoughts, that I might be something that contained my thoughts, but that was bigger than my thoughts. And I never had that experience until I meditated and noticed thoughts and came back to my breath. And when I came in touch with that greater awareness, it connected me to the universe. It connected me to everything. It was the Shema itself. Everything was contained in this open awareness. And that is why I teach meditation.
So let me give a brief story of my own connection with divine. So it started when I was 3 years old. And my mother, who is a professor intellectual, but happens to be from a line of Hasidic rabbis, said to me, God is inside everything. God is inside everything. I'm 3 years old, right? So I believe her, and I look at the door and I think, God is in the door, you know. And I started looking at people and thinking, God is in people, in that person. And that was my start, right? And then in teenager, I read the tales of the Hasidim about these rabbis that are just in love with God and see God everywhere and so on. And then at college, I took a class in the philosopher Spinoza. And Spinoza says that, I mean, he's called the God Intoxicated Philosopher. And he tells you, you know, if you're eating an apple, don't just think of it, you've seen one apple, you've seen them all. He says, look at it. He had a Latin phrase, sub specie aeternitatis. Look at it under the aspect of eternity. And so there I was taking this class, and then I started trying to see things under the aspect of eternity. And then I got this, you know, it helped me have this more of an experience of, you know, God is everywhere and everything, which I learned when I was 3. Yeah, and then I just noticed in my life that when I'm trying to align with everything is holy, everything is loved, and I act that way, life feels better. And I think that's a way of sensing divine presence. Just, you know, when we're doing what makes things good.
So, yeah, so the other thing that I realize, and I think that we can all connect with, is a certain longing to connect, certain longing to see your face, in a way, to see the face of the divine or to experience the divine. And that longing, which is in us, is actually, that is the divine calling out to be seen. So that again, once again, we can see that it is in us. It is not so far away that we have to go over a mountain to see it. It is in us. And we feel it in the longing. And sometimes the longing is expressed by kind of nervousness or anxiety or restlessness, kind of ground restlessness, and not quite satisfied with our life as it is. And that's also the divine speaking to us, saying, connect, connect, connect.
Right. And I think that with this sense that the divine is indwelling inside of everything, that we probably all do have experiences of divinity. It's sort of, and they can really lift you. I mean, it's like when people say I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. Usually they're talking about, I've had real spiritual experiences, but I don't find them in the structure I'm in whatever religion and however they've been presented with religion, you know, but it's since it's just present, it is there. And it's up to us, right, to move toward it and find it.
And I also want to mention in Buddhism, as you asked me to mention Buddhism, it's called the three jewels. And the three jewels are the teacher, the teachings, and the Sangha. And the Sangha is the community. This, and for those of you who came this morning, it was really obvious that the divine indwelling in us can be found in community and in our connection. So, Judith, is it okay if I lead in a little meditation now, or did you want to say something before I do?
That'd be lovely. Please.
Okay. Okay. So I thought before we're going to ask you to go into breakout rooms and talk a little bit about this in groups, but before that, I thought I would just lead you in a very short meditation, just to get a sense of what I'm talking about, perhaps. So find a seat and feel yourself grounded on the seat. Feel your spine coming up from the bottom, from your sit bones, all the way up through the back of your neck to the top of your head. And feel your body sitting, feeling the gravity of earth holding you here. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to make yourself sit. You're already here. And that's a lot of the quality of meditation. You're already here. You're already breathing. You're already sitting with a strong back and a soft front. That soft front is very important. That's the openness and the vulnerability and the kind and gentleness that you offer to yourself when you sit. So just begin by feeling your body breathing. And joining your attention with the breath, the feeling of the breath, be with that sensation. This is an act of friendliness towards yourself, kindness, to just be with whatever arises in your mind, not pushing it away, just letting it happen, letting yourself feel what you feel, but then coming back to the breath. This might feel peaceful, but it also might feel a little scary to be in this vast space of your mind with just the breath as your reference point. So gently, when you notice thoughts, just notice them, touch them like a feather touching a bubble, and come back to your body sitting here, your body breathing very gently. Just drop all the projects. Just be. Just be right here in the space where you are. Feeling your breath. Breath connects you to life, connects you to all life. When you breathe out, your breath joins all the other breaths in the universe. As alone as you may feel, you're connected, deeply connected as a human being on this earth. Feel your right to be here. Feel the goodness of being here. Let the breath calm you and soothe you and inspire you. Thank you very much for giving that a try. It's just a taste of what meditation is like. And some of you I know come to my meditation hour on Wednesday nights, and you're all invited to join that to learn more about it. So now we would like to invite you all to maybe take a moment and contemplate before you go into breakout rooms how you have experienced the divine, the ineffable, or how you may have missed it, but now that you think about it, there it was. And Judith, you had a way of saying it that was even better.
I don't remember what was.
It's okay. So just take a moment and think about that for yourself so that you have something to share in your rooms, breakout rooms. An experience, a feeling. And when we come back, we'll share together. Okay, so we're going to ask you to go into breakout rooms of 3 people. And we're going to give you 10 minutes, so that's 3 minutes each to share. And the person who shares, the others listen with their whole hearts and their whole minds open. And then the next person goes. And maybe there'll be a minute or 2 at the end to just talk.
You know, I think I wanted to say the Jewish prayer that always comes to my mind, which has to do with loving God with all our heart, with all our soul, and with all our might. And maybe just carry that with you. What would that mean into your breakout room?
It's beautiful. So how was that? We have some minutes before we have our closing remarks
Lovely.
to share.
I think we should share gallery view so we can see each other.
I'm in gallery view.
Oh, I want to go there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, here we are. Here's everybody. Yeah. Please let us know, how was that?
Well, I had a great time. Where are my conversation mates? We all agreed. We all had the same idea of the divine. We'd all felt it. We had no doubt. We all thought, yep, God equals divine. That's who we are. It's in everything. End of story. We had a lovely talk.
Big topic.
Yeah.
Big topic. this is what I love to do, is to talk about divine, the experience of the divine. And it's so satisfying to have a little conversation like we just did. That was
Yeah.
so great.
It's one of the things that came out in my group was the power of coincidence and of serendipity, and having things come together unexpectedly, as anybody, and feeling that as a sign of the divine being with you. Anybody have that? Or other things? Shoshana, is that you raising your hand?
Yeah, we had in common a sense of the divine as infinite. What was the word you used, John? Was eternal, infinite.
Yeah, infinite. That God was infinity.
Yeah, God, infinity, but still warm and present, as well.
Yes. Yeah, I was saying right. It wasn't it was powerful, but it was comforting.
Comforting. Yeah, that's really good.
Powerful and comforting. That's great. That brings the two together. Because for me, when I have to admit, when I say the word God, I still have this kind of male association and a sky god association. That's why I love this word Shekhinah that's kind of been introduced to me by Shoshana. I didn't know you were here, Shoshana, but by Shoshana's teachings and her meditations, and feeling the ground of our being, which is also, who said that? That was a famous person said that. The ground of our being, coming up through the ground into our bodies and then into our minds. In that sense, we can join the two. We can join that ground and that, what you all were talking about, that infinite, that great, that big, and join it right here in our hearts, right here in our bodies.
I'm feeling curious if there are people that don't feel they've experienced the
Yeah.
divine so far in their lives. Anybody?
They might not be brave enough to say. Well, there's this thing about thinking it has to be special. Is Aviva still here? She was talking about wanting it to be special, and realizing it could be right here while she's washing the dishes.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I will say
Yeah.
it's Shoshana. That ground of being, I think, is Paul Tillich. But I think of it as the Shekhinah. And
Yes.
I just loved your meditation. I loved just the being, and the being in the presence, and just really appreciated the opportunity to just sit and feel the simplicity of just breathing and coming present and feeling connected with the divine presence. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Can I
I
jump
think-
in and say something?
Please.
Please.
Hi. I mentioned it, but other people in our group said it. Maybe we took a different tack, but we talked about how some of us experience the divine in music, and that is transformative and transcendent. That there's a way that in either making music in certain situations or listening to it, how that can do it. And of course, music touches someplace that words can never reach.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
And I don't think the divine needs to be something that's an aha moment. I
Yeah.
think that if you just sink into the collective unconscious and allow yourself to be part of the stream of how we are all connected, that there is something divine. I don't like that word. There's something awesome about that if we can allow ourselves to just be part of the collective unconscious and be united in some way, that there's something special in that.
Thank you. Dorothy.
In our group, everyone had an experience of the divine, had a feeling, an experience of the divine through something they did. One person was is a yoga teacher for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Another person is a massage therapist for 41 years.
Uh-huh.
Who's counting? The other person was a photographer and experienced God through beauty and observation of beauty. And it wasn't some.
Oh, Dorothy, you just muted yourself.
Those hands is so powerful. But they experience the divine through doing, I should say.
Through doing
Through
photography.
doing, and it goes beyond words or thought. It's action.
So one of the ways I refer to the divine is a vibration.
Yeah.
And that's very encompassing the different ways that people experience the vibration.
Thank you,
And
Joanne.
it seems like getting out of our normal thinking and doing our normal, do music or the various ways we do it, is part of moving toward our inner divinity or holiness, whatever we want to call it.
And we were going to give you a few tips or ways to access before we leave and before Judith ends with a beautiful meditation. So Judith, you want to say method?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking about prayer, that there are ways that you can use prayer to keep reminding yourself of holiness. And I think I like in the morning, I pray 3 prayers. A prayer the prayer where you thank God that you're waking up again for the day. The prayer where you pour water over your hands to try to clean away the ways you've been a schmo in the past 24 hours and try to start fresh. Raise your hands to try to live in a better way that aligns with holiness that day. And then the Shema. And then I want to talk about the Shema for a moment, because the Shema calls us to pay attention, right? And it calls us Yisrael, which can mean people who struggle with divinity. Yisrael. Adonai Eloheinu. It has 2 words for God. And to me, Adonai represents the holy name that we never say the actual name. We say Adonai instead. But it's that combination it's about being itself. To me, that's God transcendent, creator of billions of galaxies, awesome transcendence of God. And then it says Eloheinu, Adonai Eloheinu, our God. And to me, that's divinity loving us, being present in our lives, happy when we are truly ourselves, sad when we're schmoes, and so on, so on. So it's Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, God is oneness. And when I say Echad, I think I get a hit of everything connected and all of it God, all of it full of holiness. So prayer is a way you can use prayer. And traditionally, we would be praying 3 times a day in Judaism. How long am I supposed to talk, Basha? We're running out of time, aren't we?
Well, you have to give me a chance to. Go ahead.
Yeah.
4 minutes left.
I have 4 minutes left.
Well,
We have
4 to 5 to 6 minutes. We'll be a little. But anyway, prayer, yes, and
good deeds, because
yeah.
I think that in order to get deeper and deeper experiences of divinity, it's good to try to be acting aligned with what Shekhinah likes, which is that you take very beautiful care of yourself because Shekhinah loves you deeply, and you treat other people well because Shekhinah loves them too, right? So any way we can clean up the ways we might have bad habits of how we speak, say, to our husband or whatever, in order to try to let that beauty of connection be present, then we're opening ourselves to divinity. And sometimes we get these experiences like the one Joanne was describing that are just awesome. But I think in order to get those, it helps to be aligned with responsible, kind behavior, the behavior that fits our inner self, our inner true self. So those are the main ways. And in Judaism, I think the mitzvot, which I didn't grow up with the mitzvot, but I think the commandments of how to eat and how to go to sleep, saying the bedtime Shema and looking at your day and, trying to be forgiven for ways you messed up that day and forgiving everyone that hurt you that day. The traditional ways of living a day are designed to give us a feeling of honoring holiness all day. And I think we can do that without doing it in a traditional manner. Like, I say a blessing before I eat. I don't eat just kosher food. But that would be better because it would have been killed with a blessing if it's meat, But I remember when I say thank you, God, who the creator of everything, I'm thinking about how each thing grew and the wonderful amazingness of each thing on my plate. So
Reb Judith, I love hearing you, and I hope that you will teach us more, because you are truly aligned with the divine, and it's really obvious. Thank you. I would just like to also add, for me, the ways I access this is by synchronizing body and mind. Like, whatever you're doing, be there wholeheartedly. As the music was mentioned, which is a wonderful example, but even cutting carrots or washing the dishes, feel the hot water and the soap on your hands. Be completely with it, synchronizing body and mind. It eliminates doubt and brings you into the present moment. And the other thing that I realized when I was thinking about how to access the divine is that you have to hold the pain of the world and the suffering at the same time as you hold the awesomeness and beauty and splendor of this world. One has to hold them both. And that's not easy to do. But as we open our hearts, we can only open our hearts if we are willing to feel the pain as well as the joy. So that was my last thing. And if you don't mind, Barbara, we just want to end with Judith doing a short meditation. Judith?
And be aware that people are beginning to join us for the next session.
okay,
Well, then they'll get the benefit.
very short.
Absolutely.
They'll get the benefit. Okay.
Okay, so if it's comfortable for you, close your eyes and get your body comfortable. And pay attention to your breath, just moving gently out of your chest, in and out. Tune into your body. Picture the cells of your body full of sparks of holiness, every cell in your body shining with the light of holiness, shining, sparkling with holiness. And be with that. Now picture that outside of you is a warm, beautiful light, a feminine, warm light that's full of true love for you. And let that beautiful light pour into you through the top of your head, pouring true love down through all parts of your body, and be with that. So carry this with you through your rest of your evening and through your life. And when you're ready, open your eyes here at Sinai with all of us.
Thank you so much, Judith. That was beautiful. And thank you, everyone, for joining us in this short hour of contemplating how we connect with the divine. I appreciated everything everyone said. Thank you so much.
Thank you.